Right. But I'm sure you find that there are still setbacks or maybe some barriers to covering news from, especially parts of the world like where we are. But for Malaysia in particular, what do you think, gets in the way a little bit for when you cover the news?
I mean, what gets in the way is, part of it is simply distance and the fact that people don't understand complicated countries like Malaysia with their complicated inheritances as well. There's no doubt about it. Most people do not get to scratch the surface of the country. Everything from colonial inheritance to sort of current day tensions. The challenges of geopolitics around here are formidable, and people, I think, on the other side of the world simply don't understand the balancing act that countries like Malaysia, the Philippines, and other nations in the region simply have to perform all the time. When countries are told you have to choose or something like that, it's a strange demand to make from 3,000 miles away. So, yes, ignorance is the main barrier when you're trying to talk about a country like Malaysia. But I hope that what we do a little bit for the world beyond with the debate is try and get through some of that ignorance and show that there are shades of grey everywhere.
What do you think about his vocality and how outspoken he is about the Gaza and the stance that we're taking on the Gaza war, particularly against Israel? How does that stand out, say, from the other world leaders that you've covered so far?
It's interesting, and again, it's a sign of a kind of a new division, a different division in the world. The phrase "the global south" is a horrible one. It really is, because it suggests that there's one lump here and another lump there. But let's use it for the moment. It's clear that on issues such as Ukraine and on Israel and the Palestinians, there's a fairly sharp division, or there certainly was at the beginning. And Malaysia and Malaysia's leadership has made its position very, very clear on Israel and the Palestinians, and seems to walk in step with its population there, that it seems to speak for many, many Malaysians in their unhappiness at what Israel is doing in Gaza. It's worth pointing out, there is a shift also in the West as this war has continued. And more people feel uncomfortable and upset about what has happened. Again, not my place to judge it, but it is interesting that Malaysia has been so forthright. And obviously, I think there is a reflection in the government as to what people feel within Malaysia about what's happening in Gaza.
What about the double standards that we've pointed to, say, when the Western media covers Ukraine and Russia, there's a different treatment, whereas when it comes to Gaza, how do you find that criticism?
Well, I without wanting to be really annoying, I sort of need to know what the specific criticism of double standards is. The BBC in particular gets criticised from nearly every side on this topic, and I appreciate that very few people are because the topic is so polarising. Very few people are happy with the coverage that they see. What I tend to say to people is, look at the other side, look at the complaints that the other side have about our coverage as well, and bear in mind how strongly they are held when you point out that we are the devil or we have double standards. We are unable to get inside Gaza to report from Gaza. We would very much like to, but the Israeli authorities do not allow us to, which really restricts the reporting that we can do. We depend very heavily on first-hand reporting, on saying we are here and we are witnessing that. We can't do that inside Gaza. That does restrict what we're able to do. We're able to travel more freely, of course, in those parts of Ukraine that are still controlled by Ukraine. So on double standards, I'd be interested in what the specific criticism is, but I would also say all reporting is an art, not a science. Those who make claims to it for it to be a science are wrong. And whilst there will be mistakes that have been made, it is an effort always to find the closest thing you can get to the truth and to report again what each side says.